Hi, my name is Eric Schaefer, and today we're going to look at building mobile solutions with K2. K2 has recently released two pieces of technology to enable rapid mobile process application development: the K2 Workflow Client Services and the K2 Mobile Worklist Applications. The K2 Workflow Client Services are a set of services that are a full one-to-one mirror of the objects in the standard workflow.client API. They're exposed as web service, WCF endpoints, REST endpoints with full SSL support. These services enable developers to rapidly assemble applications across a wide variety of platforms, including mobile platforms. If you're interested in learning more about the K2 Workflow Client Services, there's another video that goes into more depth in there. K2 has taken the K2 Workflow Client Services and built out a set of mobile worklist applications for both the iPhone and Blackberry. These applications are now available in their respective app stores. If we take a look at the iPhone worklist application, you open it up and you'll see a list of the tasks that are assigned to you. When you open up a task, you get the name of the task, the information about where it currently is, some information about the process data, and an ability to take a certain set of actions depending upon the task. Standard actions like delegate, redirect, and sleep that you're familiar with from the K2 web parts are also available. If we look at the Blackberry application, it's very similar. You'll see a list of tasks. You can open up the task, view some data, open up an action, and take an action. Some considerations for the mobile worklist applications: they are a subset of the current worklist web part functionality. Some things that you're not going to see currently are out-of-office configuration or a mobile view flow. Another thing to keep in mind is for any process that's developed to use the mobile worklist applications, the task actions must be batch actionable. Task forms will also render in the mobile browser, so if you have forms associated with your task items and you want people to be able to open up those forms, you should ensure that they will render in the proper mobile browser. Another thing to keep in mind is that process data can also be surfaced in the mobile applications for context. So if there are key pieces of information like expense claim limits or purchase order amounts, those items should be exposed through process data fields to allow someone to rapidly see what information they need in order to make a decision without necessarily always having to open up a mobile view of the form. For setup and configuration, K2 has released a KB article on how to work with the K2 mobile task list. We'll walk through just a couple of the sections here. On connection settings in the application, you obviously provide a link to your item, whether or not you're going to use SSL, your domain, username, and password. Some of the sync options, so the K2 sync services that are part of the Workflow Client Services, enable the applications to run offline. So you can enable some syncing, whether you want to sync automatically or sync manually. It does allow you to actually work with those tasks and put them in an outbox, which eventually will sync and then take those actions. In terms of using the application, there's an inbox and an outbox. The outbox is for anything that you've actioned that hasn't been synced back. Working with a task item allows you to do some of the standard functionality: delegate, redirect, sleep, or take any of the actions that are marked as batch actionable for that task item. Just a couple of the technical details in terms of the two applications and what they support. We are currently working on applications for both the Windows Phone 7 as well as Android, which will be released at some point in the future. But for now, the two applications for Blackberry and iPhone have some requirements that you can see here. In order to make sure that your client applications will be able to talk to the K2 system, because of the set of services that are available, you need to make sure that those services are exposed outside the firewall and are properly secured. It is recommended by K2 that you secure these with SSL, as it is using basic authentication where passwords and usernames are sent in clear text. So typically an architecture will look something like this, where you have your client applications connecting over SSL to the K2 services, which is installed as part of the K2 workspace in some sort of DMZ, and then those services will talk to the K2 server to retrieve the set of tasks and send them back over the SSL connection. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at a demo. The demo we're going to look at is using the Windows Phone 7 version of the application that's actually going to be part of a community post up to the K2 Underground. And we're going to look at kicking off a process using a mobile form, going through, opening up the K2 task, approving that task, and having it move on. Here we have a mobile device with the K2 Mobile Worklist. Before we go into the mobile worklist, let's go ahead and kick off a new process. I'm going to go into Internet Explorer and fill out some details on a mobile form for a leave request process. Put in my details. Select a date range. Paid time off, and a quick description. Vacation, and click Submit. I will go ahead and kick the K2 process off. So now we can go back to our home screen and go ahead and open up our K2 Worklist application. Go ahead and sync. And there we can see our tasks coming through. If we scroll through, we can see our new task from the paid time off application. Go ahead and open that. It gives us a list of the information, where we are, what process we're in, and some of the additional details. We can also go ahead and look at the actions, which will allow us to approve, decline, send it for rework, or optionally any of the standard actions, redirect, delegate, and sleep. Let's go ahead and approve this task. That's going to place it in our outbox. So if we switch over to our outbox, we'll see that we have one task waiting for synchronization. I can go ahead and force a synchronization, which means that that task will then be completed. And when we go back and resync our work list, we'll see that that task will disappear. And there it's gone. We can also look at the settings to see that we are passing in a username, a password, a domain, a link to our K2 services, and we have some other options in terms of SSL and the number of tasks to sync. And that's a little view of the K2 Worklist application. As we just saw in the demo, you can use the K2 Mobile Worklist Applications to view any tasks that have been assigned to you by K2 and potentially take some action on those tasks. Another way to think about using mobile devices as part of a K2 solution is to think about solution-specific mobile applications. As an example, using the K2 case management framework and a complaints handling solution, you could think about an application on a mobile device that will give you a list of specifically the cases that you're working on with some indicators in terms of how healthy those cases are when they've been last updated, allow you to go into each one of those cases, get more details, and have a set of actions that you can actually go in, adding comments, adding photos, looking at audit trails, escalating a case if necessary. In this particular example, we can say, we were just at a meeting with the client. We're going to go ahead and say that they're still fairly upset, but we had some certain steps that we were going to go forward with. So adding those comments to that application will immediately let anybody know that's following the case what's actually going on without having to go back to a laptop or another device and actually enter that in. Another example solution is a city work solution where city employees in the field would have a mobile application that would allow them to tag certain issues in the city, like graffiti or potholes, using a photo with some geotagged information behind that photo, add some comments to what they think they potentially need to do to resolve this issue, and be able to quickly just submit that from their phone back to the K2 to kick off a process to go through a rectification process or a process to assign resources to go out and go into the field and actually fix these issues. You'd have the photo, you'd have the comments, and you'd know exactly where each one of those potential issues was in relation to each other. Just kind of a very interesting way to kind of start thinking about using the power of mobile devices and the power of process automation to be able to provide some solutions to different customers. In summary, we've seen how the K2 Workload Client Services and the K2 Mobile Worklist Applications together provide a platform for enabling rapid mobile process application development.